everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It means so much to me to celebrate the new book that Father Larry wrote. So thank you guys for coming. It is an absolute, it's an honor. Father Larry is a treasure, as you all know, here in Santa Barbara, and I am just so pleased that you're here. I just want to acknowledge a few people, so I have to refer to my notes. First, my partner, Vince Caballero. Vince, where are you? There he is. Vince is our regional executive in Santa Barbara, runs all of our branches and does such a phenomenal job. Thank you, Vince, for being with us tonight. Penny Sherritt. Penny Sherritt is right there. Penny runs our headquarters, our main branch, just down the street. Penny, thank you so much for coming. This night wouldn't be here if it weren't for Felicia Sutherland. Felicia is right over there.
All right, Felicia.
Felicia. I really appreciate it. I serve on the Channel Islands YMCA board. Sal Cisneros, the CEO of the Y. Sal, are you here?
There's
there
Sal.
is Sal, right over there. Thank you, Sal, for being here. Let's see, Roger Aceves. Roger? Oh, there you go. That's what happens when you give the introducer a glass of wine, not the smartest thing in the world. And Cass Stimson, our new president right here, El Presidente. Thank you for coming for this year's fiesta. And I think I have gotten everyone that I wanted to make sure I shouted out to. You know, Unshadowed Light. As Father Larry was telling me about his book, Unshadowed Light, it was an absolute. He always moves me, just because of the person he is. So. When we had an opportunity to unveil that book his book in a public way, I said, "Boy, please do it here at our bank, because it would mean so much to me and to the community." So for everyone that showed up tonight, you know, we're going to give you a copy of the book. Please enjoy it, and I am so pleased to call Father Larry my friend. I care so much about you. Thank you for everything you do for the community and for us, and I'll turn it over to you.
Equally, George, I have to say, you are a treasure in our community. Everybody knows that, recognizes that. We want to affirm that you are an incredible treasure to this community of Santa Barbara and beyond. And you're also a dear, dear friend, a precious friend to me. Thank you for your friendship. I treasure that.
I do too.
A lifelong friendship. Thank you. And I want to thank Union Bank for hosting this tonight. It's a wonderful privilege and honor to be here. Felicia, thank you for all your work you did at Penny, and everyone here at Union Bank, thank you. Thank you all for coming and sharing this evening. It's a wonderful joy. I really consider you not only precious friends, but very noble and astute people, and I'm honored to share this book with you tonight, so thank you for all of that. So this book, first of all, just very, very briefly, this book is called Unshadowed Light, and we got that title. It's about St. Clare of Assisi, who was a contemporary of St. Francis of Assisi in the 12th and early 13th century in Italy. And St. Clare, Clara in Italian, means, we often translate it as pure light, Clara, Clare, but it actually, the correct translation in Italian is unshadowed light. So Clare was a name that was given to her at her birth by her mother, that she felt was given by God, this name, Clare, Clara, and so it refers to an unshadowed light. Okay, so the book is about St. Clare. She was a mystic, a contemporary of St. Francis of Assisi. She wrote many mystical writings and spiritual writings. She lived a very simple and humble life in Assisi, in the little chapel of San Damiano, and just as a great contribution to our Franciscan way of life. So that's the basic understanding of the book, the inspiration for it. Just briefly, I take a lot of biblical images and try to translate them into some poetic, inspirational verse. That's kind of my style. I try to write in a form that's called altar poetry. And the form, it has a shape to it. So when you write, I just love this form. So the poem itself has a shape that you don't try to design the shape, you let the words design the shape as you're writing, and then you just try to fit it together and fit it into some kind of shape. And then, of course, you have to make it make sense. And then and then you have to try to put some kind of inspiration to it. So for me, it's kind of a three-tiered inspiration, okay? So that's the form I write in. So book is a composite of 4 people, besides many other inspirations. So I want to introduce them and help and let them briefly, or however they want, explain what this book, how this came about, and what its meaning is for them. So first is Miki Landseadel. Landseadel, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Miki is from San Miguel, California, north of here, near Paso Robles. Miki is the editor of the book, so we worked very in conjunction with that. So I want to have Miki explain your perceptions.
Not to contradict you, Father. About my name.
Sorry, never did get that straight.
That's okay. My married name is Sanders, so
Yes.
I wanted to share with you a couple of things about the book that are perhaps kind of thrumming around in your own minds lately about the necessity, really, in our time for a deeper sense of spiritual connection and a kind of voice to that we want to hear from other modes and other forms. And so this book allows that voice to express itself in a variety of different types of approaches to the whole concept around the growth of the self through the spirit. So in a sense, when you're reading this, you'll be able to see this kind of trajectory that goes forward about the growth of the individual through this, starting with contemplation, in fact, in one of the first poems, and extending all the way out to a kind of, let me let go here and let God. So it has that beautiful quality to that. The other thing is that this came together because Father Larry's expression of poetry, his admiration for poets. He doesn't only present his own poems during masses, but he includes other poets as well. Mary Oliver, stands out as one of his choices, and there are others. So this is also about kind of sharing in that discourse as it relates to the spirit. And that allows you to share in the discourse as well as a reader, and then to carry this over. I know people who are not Catholic, who not that Catholics don't use it for this purpose, but who have belong to other religious groups who use this work as part of their Sunday school programming. It's wonderful. I know people, and I've provided books to people who do that very thing. So there are those ends of the spectrum for this, but then it also goes into how it affects the self as you read this. And the beautiful artwork that is in here. We have Steve Kalar's powerful artwork that runs through that connects and ties to Father's poetry, and the very subtle connections and ties that Mary Kay Fry's work in her photography also ties to these poems. And all of this came together in a meeting that we had actually at Steve Kalar's home in San Miguel, California, at its outset, just sharing what we had to share and what we were going to do to help build this thing. So this is actually a kind of family project, if you will, and such is its yield. I hope that you love this book as much as I do, and that you find from the reading your own expression, your own advancement of Unshadowed Light.
Thank you. Thank you, Miki. Thank you. Gives me great pride to introduce the illustrator of this book, Steve Kalar. Steve Kalar lives in San Miguel. Steve studied in Florence, Italy, studied art there, and then worked in Florence, Italy for a number of years. He was initiated into the Dante Society of the Artists of Italy, which is the 500 top artists of Italy, of Italian. They have to be Italian to be initiated into it. And there's only 500. It's limited to 500. You can only be initiated if one passes on. Steve is the first non-Italian to be in the Dante Society of Italy. So again, this is a work of love. Steve has incredible talent, incredible vision of art, and he was so gracious in working with this book to put this together. I want to say too, this is a side. We're not doing this to make money. It's not about money at all. It's about love. This is all a work of love. So I'd like to have Steve explain some of his ideas on the book.
Well, first of all, I'm the troublemaker in the community, so that's why he and I get so along. And please know, we are very grateful to share our treasure of San Miguel with you. We'll never let him go, but we're willing to share him with you. But we are grateful, and I am indeed very, very grateful to have made this connection with Father Larry and San Miguel. And we've had this glorious journey and this opportunity together to create together, actually. And I am very grateful for the opportunity. It has indeed been a blessing in my life, and it's been something that I've greatly enjoyed. When we first did Hidden Sweetness, he came to me and asked me 2 weeks before the deadline with the publication to illustrate the book. And I said, excuse me, how many years did it take you to write this publication, and you want me to illustrate it in 2 weeks? And so we did meet the deadline, and it came out beautiful, and we are still friends, and it was like a university class project, mind you, though. There was some late nights, and I was going, what am I going to do here? And it was very beautiful. It was a great journey, and this one, again, the journey continues. So this is, for me, a piece of a memory that I will treasure forever, in the sense that this was a group of people that he has selected very astutely that has led us to the end result of this. So our first meeting in Father Larry gathering our team together, and Miki and I see one another, unfortunately not enough in San Miguel, as small as it is, in the busyness of our lives. We don't get the chance to actually visit as much as we would like, but we, in one afternoon, sat down, we had a meal together, and the blessing of that and the connection of us coming together with ideas and just sharing about possibilities and the opportunity of it was really extraordinary, and it has continued through these months here before the publication. So for me, my participation in this is simply responding to his work and trying to come up with some form of visual interpretation. So I'm kind of the translator here, and then the publisher takes it and takes it to another level, which has been very beautifully done. And so I am grateful. Thank you to Union Bank for this very beautiful evening and this spectacular Unshadowed Light of Santa Barbara. Thank you all.
Thank you, Steve. Putting together this team, and we have our fourth member, a very, very special lady, Mary Kay Fry. Mary Kay Fry is a photographer, and she has a great love for Assisi, where St. Francis was from, and St. Francis, and she has an incredible artistic flair with the use of photography. And so we had some beautiful, beautiful photographs that were to be in this book, and as Steve mentioned, when you do a work and you give it to the publisher, it's out of your hands, and it's in their hands now, and they can do whatever they want with it. And unfortunately, and I feel, they did not like the idea for some reason we were very disappointed. But anyway, I want to acknowledge Mary Kay. We have 3 of her photographs in here, but we're going to be using much more of those in the future. Mary Kay, can you come and say something? Mary Kay's a wonderful lady.
Thank you, Father Larry.
Thank you, Mary Kay.
I just want to thank Father Larry for the opportunity to work on this together. It was so magnificent, so fun, and Miki and Steve. It was just, we had a wonderful time doing this together. And when Father Larry said that he was talking about Unshadowed Light, and at that time it was an idea with a lot of your poetry already written. But I had shown him some of my images of Assisi, and he then asked if they could be included, and I was totally excited because I have such a love for Clare and Francis. They're just so dear to my heart, and then Assisi also. And have any of you been to Assisi? There's something so magical and mystical about Assisi. So if you ever have a chance, don't miss it. It's between Florence and Rome, so you can get there. The first time I went, I had a big prayer on my heart, and I asked Francis for help, and that was almost 30 years ago. So he became a friend, and he's just part of my life. So to have been part of this is an honor. So I'm very, very grateful, and I'm grateful to Steve and to Miki also. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Thank you, Mary Kay. Another very special person that is not a part of this book, but is a part of our evening tonight, is Emiliano Campobello. And he is going to be accompanying us with some beautiful, beautiful music as to this reading, because we were talking about this book, and Emiliano asked me, he said, what's the point of this gathering? Is it entertainment? And we said, no, this is not entertainment. We want this to be a prayer. This is a prayer. So we want to enter into that prayer space. And Emiliano asked me, he said, what is the point of this book? The four of you met. And I'm kind of taking some liberties here, but I think we all agreed with this, with Steve and Miki and Mary Kay. We came up with this idea that this is a birthing of a legacy. And we all came up with that together. This is a birthing of our legacy. This is what we want to leave behind. This is the birthing of our legacy. So anyway, that's the inspiration. But I want Emiliano to speak a little bit, speak about what you're, all your guests tonight.
I'll figure out something to say. It's just an honor to be here in all of your presence, and to be invited to bring music and my breath to the words of this honorable and dear man in our community. Father Larry, we've been friends for quite a while, shared some beautiful times and interactions, and through this project, been growing even closer, getting to know each other even better. We both have a deep connection with the Native American cultures. Me through my heritage, and him through his work. Many of you may not know this, but he spent over a decade working with the Mescalero Apache and connecting with them and communicating in the language of spirit. And that's a language that has kind of been lost in modern times. Now we forget that. Like many other older traditions, didn't have a separate word for art, for instance, or for music, because it was all part of that sacredness of life that was interwoven into everything. And that is something that I admire and am so inspired by Father Larry in his walk in life, in reminding us of the sacredness of every step, of every interaction, of every word. Every time we look in somebody's eye, there's that chance for a real, true connection. And if we're too busy in our heads, we miss that chance. And as I play tonight, I'll be playing several Native American flutes, one from the Anasazi culture, Hisatsune, the ancient ones, from before the time of the Europeans here. And this flute, it's this one here when I'm playing it, so you know, is a replica of flutes that were found buried with priests about 1400 years ago. So they're tools for connecting with spirit, for prayer, for giving gratitude, asking for protection. And that is where I blow the breath of my life into these in a prayer for all of us. As far as Unshadowed Light, I think that as God puts pearls and gems of gifts and talents in each one of us, but so often they're hidden. And it's up to us to be able to find ways to shine light into those shadows so that then it can be reflected out into the world. And with all those gifts comes a responsibility, as I was brought up, of how do we share those gifts with the world. And so at this brief moment, I'm so happy to be a part of this legacy that you are sharing with the world, this light that you are all shining into the world so that it can be reflected from our hearts and our souls back out. Thank you.
So how we're going to do this, Emiliano is going to do a song. It's called the Zuni Sunrise Song. And he's going to do it in two parts. So we're going to begin this in that part, and then he will finish. I'm going to read 5 poems, and then he will finish that, the second half of that song as we're closing on after the 5th poem. There will be a break in between. I do want to try to explain a little bit of the inspiration that led to each of these poems that I chose tonight. And so there will be a little break, and then he will be playing music as we are also listening to the poem on 4 of them. The middle one, I'm going to do only my voice. Okay.
Cell phones off. We all think they're off.
This first poem is entitled Teaching a Monarch to Fly. The inspiration for this, someone gave me a chrysalis. That's a little butterfly in the cocoon. And I put it out on my porch and I watched it, come out of its cocoon. And one day I noticed it had pretty much fallen out of its cocoon. And so I came and I reached in and I grabbed it. And I put it on my hand and thinking that, of course, it would fly away. Well, it didn't fly away, and it seemed like it didn't know how to fly. So I sat there for over an hour holding this beautiful butterfly, and I thought, how do you teach a butterfly to fly? So that's the basic inspiration. But the other inspiration comes from from the letter of Paul to Philemon, a small little scripture, a pastoral letter in the New Testament. And the story is that Paul was put into prison, of course, because of his faith. And during the time in prison, he met a man named Onesimo. Onesimo was a slave that had run away from his owner, Philemon. And because he had run away, he was jailed. And during the jailing, the two men met, Paul and Onesimo chose to become a Christian, to be baptized. And so Paul writes a letter to Philemon, who he knows, about this person, Onesimo, and he says, this man is no longer a slave any longer. He's a free man. In fact, he's my son. I call him my son. And he cannot be a slave any longer. So that's the biblical inspiration for this, teaching a monarch to fly. Clear skies wide open for freedom of being. Christmas of morning light sparked new life. Pure life, pure light, more than any flame could bring, draws to life a majestic creature of God. A web cocoon breaks clear of water. Like a field of shining sunflowers comes forth a monarch butterfly, desiring, striving, spreading newfound wings to fly, to fly, to fly free in what is meant to be. Who teaches you to spread your wings, to flutter and explore, to banish obstacles that resist your will to be who you are? A new world opens. Heaven's skies is the limit, and there you see no need to remain earthbound. For heaven sent, you are sent to soar free. Every way lies open to seek the way above. For you resurrect, and neither hunted nor imprisoned for your liberty in the flow of love. Their wings shall more revelation in you be shown, for you are beloved, forgiven by your loving, faithful Father. Renounced shame with the royal hope of forgiveness. Rest and fortify yourself in the Father's tender skies. Feel the sweet balm in your soul, life's purpose. For you left an offspring, but now we have you returned, my son, my beloved. Thou, child of the Most High, glorious God. So make us one, make us new, for you are both, my beloved Son. This second poem I call A Cup of Human Dignity, the Good Samaritan. The inspiration for this took place, I'm from Washington State, and we have a family home up on Bainbridge Island across from Seattle, and I love to go up there, and it's kind of out in the wilderness and on country roads. And one day it was an autumn afternoon, and it was a beautiful autumn afternoon, and I was walking along the road, and it was this quiet little country road, hardly no traffic on the road, and I was walking along the road, and I got a little bit tired. It's the middle of the afternoon. It was such a balmy and warm day, and I sat down by the side of the road, kind of in the gutter of the road, and I kind of was laying there, and I started feeling really tired, so I laid down, and I actually fell asleep on the road there. But I was about half awake and half asleep, and some cars came by, and the thought struck me, what do they think of they see a body sitting here on the road? And I thought, would anyone stop and wonder who this person is, or if he needed? About 5 cars drove by, and none of those 5 stopped. And I thought, isn't that strange? They wouldn't even stop to see if I was dead or alive. Finally, finally the 6th one did stop. And so I counted that as my inspiration for the Good Samaritan, the person who's on the side of the road, and he's beat up, and people walk by and don't pay him any knowledge, except for the enemy, the Samaritan, who comes by and sees him and gives him a cup of human dignity. Under a broken tree he lay, reclining in a heart's agony. Sorrow filled the scene, painted on the wall of dignity. as if hidden from eyes that could not recover heart's pains, forgotten and swept away, bruised, broken body like a thorn. Suddenly a soul is wrung that saw a hidden light glowing, a sea showering compassion, told what could be done in love. Daybreak had come as Christ to give a silent kiss upon the heart, though broken once, now healed, enduring the life God gives and asked. Such love there is to show, no need for anything but love. No person can drink wine except from a fruitful cup of love. One is called eternally good, remembered as a Samaritan of old. For this one saw not a body, but a soul residing in the very heart of God. Walking along this road forged a path to heaven, embracing the Christ in one, touch the Christ in another. The Christ in another, touch the Christ in one. So this third one is called The Palette of the Master Artist, and I kind of attribute this to Steve Kalar so much. The beautiful illustration that he did here. And you're all going to get a copy of the book tonight, a complimentary copy of Union Bank, so you'll all see this. But the beautiful image here of merging colors together, and how beautiful. And yet each color retains its own nature, its own color, and yet they're merged together to form one. So that was the inspiration for this. So. The Palette of the Master Artist. Radiant coloration, placed lovingly but separately, held together by creation, within each one's own distinction. In the mind of the master artist, such finite degrees combine grandly, though blended humbly, still uniquely their own. Inward showings brought forth to the surface, merged as one in their full spectrum and their variation. The mystery of each sublime color creates an expression of love and intention. Each quality respected, upheld, but honored for what it is itself. Such truth unknowable except for the clarity of the divine as one in three, as love in thee the other. Yet such ruminations keep us in their embrace of the mutual and immense love. To be in this love, to be held in this complex merging as one, affirms that we are all one in three. This last one, no, this is the fourth one, so I have one more. This is my favorite one, and and when Miki received this and she read it over, and again I say this, Miki, she said, I started to cry. I couldn't keep from crying. It's so beautiful. So be careful. So I entitled this, When I Die. When I die, I want your hands to rest upon my eyes. I want to feel the light and the wheat of your hands. I want to pass on to you the softness of our changed destiny. When I die, I want to give you everything that I have. I want all the love that there is between us to continue. I want to possess all I want you to possess all that can teach you the song of my love. When I die, I want you to know the treasure that we are together. I want to give you the inheritance that I entrust into your hands. I want to give to you all that I possess for your future keeping treasure. Therefore, being a full heart and soaring spirit, I bequeath to you morning light at the break of dawn. May you never forget new quiet light. Fresh spring rains on flower petals. May you see beauty even in rain showers. Full moons on summer nights. May you rest upon the memories of lasting joy. And finally, my most precious possession. Love. 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 Hold these treasures in safekeeping. May they greatly profit in your heart. So this is our last one. Thank you for your wonderful attention. This was written on the inspiration when Pope Francis was newly enthroned or given as Pope Francis, and he was in Buenos Aires, and he had a mass for all the young people on the beach of Copacabana. You remember that? And there were 6 million people on the beach of Copacabana. It was the biggest crowd assembled ever on the beach of Copacabana. It was bigger than when the Rolling Stones played. They had 5 million. The Pope had 6 million. And I was struck as he was saying Mass there, the altar was there, and then the people were so jammed that they were actually out in the water, standing in the water, way out from the shore, trying to be there at the Mass. And I was thinking, what must it be like for the Pope to celebrate Mass for 6 million people, to look out on this crowd of people, an incredible crowd of people. And I was thinking, it was raining that day and most people were there in the rain, and my image came to them, can he see everybody? Can he see everybody out there? And so I wrote this, if my eyes could see. This will be our final prayer too. If my eyes could see just beyond the sea of people, along the beach of Copacabana, there in the view of Cristo Redentor, standing in majestic splendor over the marvelous city, Ciudade Maravillosa, Copacabana, by the sea. I'd see sunlight, even in the rain, shine forth from the one who opened our hearts to shine on all a new light. Let us then delay no longer, but hasten. Ask, receive, knock, and it will be opened. The one who asks receives, the one who knocks is let in. The redeeming Christ calls us again to the seashore. Leave your boats, abandon your nets, come and follow me. Trust in the one who gives to only what is good to his children. So ask and you will be given of the Holy Spirit to those who ask and seek. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us not our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. George. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you, Felicia. Thank you for inviting me and us tonight here. It's a great, great joy, great privilege. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Larry. I have to tell you, if you don't believe that Father Larry is the spirit of this community, has the heart of this community, you now know that he does. That was a beautiful evening, and what a treat, Father Larry, for us. I hope you all enjoyed it. Felicia, there's some logistical things here that you can help me with. How are we going to get the book out to the crowd here? They're all back here, right? So we'll do that when we're not done yet. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to make sure we have that handled. Please get a book, and we'll get the we'll get the hors d'oeuvres and everything passed around again. And Father Larry, last closing comments from you, please.
Just thank you, George. Thank you so much, Felicia. This is an incredible tribute to you. It's an honor to be here tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming. Wonderful privilege to be with you.